Hi, everyone. Oh, we have so much fun on these retreats. It's such a darling thing for us to interact with you. And what a movie! Oh, wow. That'll take you up into the stratosphere. Talk about a metaphysical context in a movie that is so well laid out to show you all the temptations and the lures of the world to try to keep you bound into form and into time, linear time, and then, wow, what a heartwarming ending. In case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, and a bow. Such graciousness. And Sylvia racing down the steps to greet him. It's like going to the bridge and having a mighty companion come and give you a big hug. So we are grateful too. You wrote in a lot of prayers and some questions. And actually we always enjoy the interactions here on Sunday with all of you. So whatever is coming up from the movie or things that you feel you need some more clarity with or resolution, we love these one-on-one interactions with you here on Sunday, because we can really go into things a little deeper and help make it a little clearer. So we did look, there was one question that we really caught our attention today.
Yeah, we have you writing in prayers and then questions, and this is from Annabelle in Mallorca. So I think I'll just read part of the question, but just use it as a context, and then we can get into it. Annabelle is just saying that I have been praying for a while around how any work could unfold as I begin stepping out from my role of housekeeper. And then as that prayer has been going on for a while, she met with a family friend who prayed with her, a priest, Christian priest, and prayed to let all care given to God. And so later on, Annabelle says, later on when I asked Spirit about it, I heard to become a minister, to bring the Bible to life with the Course, and to heal through words and presence. I can't fully remember the exact words, but they made me want to cry. Like, that's it, music to my ears and heart and mind, and I felt so lit up for a few moments. Then the ego came in with some idea of specialness and grandiosity, with resistance to the Bible and thoughts that to become a minister takes years and is very full-on work. I'm 50 and who do you think you are? You can't even say what you really want to say to friends over dinner. How do you think you'd be able to stand up and say anything really worthwhile to a room full of people? And that was it. The light, clear, simple, pure enjoyment was replaced by self-doubt, obstacles, and confusion. I spent part of today wondering about what kind of minister I was meant to be, and even Googling a bit, trying to have an idea, and then I left it. Because again, like with the energy healing, I felt anything I was to do would be guided. Through the gathering with you all today, I feel I have come to a place of more relaxation, that if any ideas to come, to just be with the feeling of inspiration and light, to allow myself to feel happy simply in the connection with it, offering any thoughts that seem to take away from that to the Spirit, rather than going off with them or giving any meaning to anything. Then just see what else comes from Spirit. It certainly does feel more easy and relaxing than what I've been doing, and even though I haven't yet written to you as I'd thought to, so much of what was shared in the gathering already felt like a response and was so helpful. Thank you. Love, Annabelle.
Thank you, Annabelle. How beautiful. Yeah, that's interesting because I traveled around the United States and Canada, and actually was pretty much into world travels when Kirsten was able to stay in the United States with a religious visa, and then when she had to leave after it expired, she heard, we were in the Peace House, and she heard Jesus saying, "Start a church," which is, when you're a mystic, you know, it's an interesting symbol. Coming through her, start a church, and at that time she was kind of partnered up a bit with Jason, and Jason said, "I don't feel that at all. I do not feel the church symbol," but she felt it really strong, and so actually the church symbol did come into our community, which was really helpful in those years of having people from all parts of the world in the United States through religious visas, 2.5 years, and then renewable, perhaps for another 2.5, and then we would just watch masterfully how Jesus used the church symbol. It didn't matter that I was traveling all over the world and I was kind of really feeling like a mystic. The symbols are never constraining or restrictive. It's only the ego's interpretations of the symbols that are constraining and restrictive. So even something like a minister symbol is something that can be used. Jesus even uses the word in, I think it's workbook lesson 154, "I am among the ministers of God." He's got it right in his workbook even. So, and in terms of the Bible, Jesus quotes the King James Bible a lot. He quotes it, you know, a lot in A Course in Miracles, and so the Bible sometimes is pushed away by Course students as like, the Bible was the problem and the Course is the correction. Jesus doesn't really see things that way. He sees that there's a continual awakening, and we're just coming to learn to listen and follow the Holy Spirit and to follow Jesus, using whatever symbols He wants to give us in an integrous way, in a way that kind of can seem to open doors. Even our friend Netta Bowen contacted us, was that like a year or two ago, and Netta was, everyone knows she's an amazing singer and voice liberation, but she said, "I want to go into prisons. And when I want to go into a prison, they require it being a minister in a lot of prisons. They won't just let someone off the street go into a prison." So we prayed on it, and so she became a minister of the church. Some people don't even know that about Netta, but she received a minister symbol, and to use that, I think she's been planning to go with our friend Jeffrey Kosker into some prisons on a little bit of a prison tour in the United States, again, for the second time. And in terms of the languaging, I know that when I traveled, I immersed myself into practicing and living A Course in Miracles, and then when I traveled around the United States and Canada and then into many countries, I found myself in a lot of churches. I got invited to churches, a range of churches, from some that are like Unity, Unitarian, Christian Science, which would be considered more New Thought churches, but I was invited to different denominations, United Church of Christ, I think I probably was in Methodist churches, you know, just a range of churches that were spin-offs from Unity Church. I was in a lot of churches. When I went to South Africa, four of us were down there. We found ourselves in a couple churches being welcomed in there by the whole congregation and warmly welcomed. And so for me, it's all about letting Jesus and the Holy Spirit direct the way. And when I would go into churches, I had been raised in Christianity, but I was so immersed in the depth of the teachings of A Course in Miracles. But when Jesus would take me to more traditional churches, he was like, let me give you the words, and I'll smile through you, and I'll laugh through you, and I'll hug through you, and I'll speak to the congregation in their terms. So I turned into a Bible preacher, like a chameleon that was such in service of Jesus that I would be a Bible preacher in churches where the Bible was the foundation. And they loved it, and I loved it, and Jesus had a good time basically saying, you must step back and let me lead the way. This is not about differences. This is not about divisions. This is about love. You will let me speak through you and love through you in a way that everybody feels lit up. The miracle receiver and the miracle giver are both blessed in the miracle. But it has to be under my control, he said. If you think you're going to go around and try to teach the Course in these Christian church, he just laughed. He said, not my plan, not how I work. I work through joy. I work through inspiration. I work through connection. I work through sameness. And it wasn't always that way. When I first got into the Course, I felt a little strange, actually, going to churches, because I was just beginning to really get purified have my heart purified by Jesus. So actually we have actually a 2-year ministerial program, online course called Mystical Mind Training, but we actually have people who take it to become ministers, to have a minister symbol that they will use. If you're thinking more in Europe and so on and so forth, the mind training program is basically to go real deep and immersed in the spirit. That's why we made the mind training program with mighty companions, partners, to go through it together and deepen in their experience. But if this is really feeling like something that sparks you, that you feel a joy and an inspiration with, then Jesus opens the doors. And it can be involving a minister symbol. I've had a lot of friends who basically were into psychology, but they didn't really like or resonate with traditional psychology. But I know Jesus got them involved with humanistic psychology and transpersonal psychology, and they felt very at home in, for example, transpersonal psychology. They could be studying the Course, doing their transpersonal psychology, transpersonal counseling, and seeing no contradiction at all, just becoming very intuitive and letting the Spirit open the doors and lead the way. And just like Kirsten did when she first, I think we were in the kitchen of the Peace House, and she said, I'm feeling Jesus is telling us we need to start a church. It started with that. Just us being open and allowing to let the Spirit use whatever symbols the Spirit wanted to use in a joyful and happy, vibrant way, and the doors opened, even when we moved out to Utah.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
It's truly unbelievable, because Jesus uses symbols to provide like a channel for us to give, but ultimately I think the prayer is want to be used by Jesus, wanted to shine the light, wanted to have a way to be able to connect, and I think then that's where Jesus actually guided us to move from Cincinnati, the community, to Utah. And every single door opened because we were a church. That was unbelievable. Nobody foresaw that. Nobody thought a church would have that many green lights, but that was a location where 90% of the people belong to a church in that state. So even you know, just by setting things up, having a center, buying property, everybody welcome us. And I know even just small ways, because we live there, everywhere I go, hairdresser, go to Apple Computer, they always say, what are you doing? Oh, I'm a pastor. They were like, oh, it's instant connection, instant. And we could talk, and they would ask, what is the denomination? We would talk about Course in Miracles. They were very curious, but there is just no really real casual encounters somehow. For everybody in the community, we could just say, this is our heart, this is what our life is about, and everybody could meet at the same place, just feel you can really shine your light in that way as well.
And I know you probably enjoyed the concert that Ricky and Eric did, and they did sing Ricky's song Into the Kingdom, which has the line, oh, what a masterful plan. Oh my gosh. I mean, Francis was raised as an atheist in Beijing, China, and didn't even know who the Beatles were. I was raised as a Christian in Cincinnati, Ohio. And then when Jesus orchestrated for us to move to Utah, of all places, if we would have never thought of Utah in a million years, he actually was taking us like, it was almost like if there was a different planet in the solar system. Instead of Pluto, Venus, it was called Church Planet. He took us, without us knowing, he took us into Church Planet, which is what Utah was. And the people were welcoming and friendly and heart-centered, and everything we tried to do, the doors flew open. Problems melted away like a stick of butter in the microwave and turned to liquid. And that's the key, is following the guidance. The symbols can be very different in places. I think I went over to Europe, I know, a number of times, and one time I was doing a tour all around Europe, and Jesus, when I spoke my last word, I was in a house, I think outside of Madrid, Spain, and my final word of this big, long, weeks-long tour was spoken. Spain won the Euro Cup football on the very moment when I spoke my last word, and the whole place erupted. I looked out off the patio and people were running through the streets and painted in yellow and red and screaming and happy and everything. I said, that's the way to end my tour. Thank you, Jesus. That a big roar went up. There was another time I was over there, and I was heading to Europe, and they have the particle accelerator in Bern, is it Switzerland? Mm-hmm. And they had just discovered the God particle right before my trip to Europe. And I thought, oh, Jesus is going to use this. The God particle has been discovered at a particle accelerator in Switzerland. So I had to read up on it, and then they said, well, the reason that they called it, why do scientists call it the God particle? They must have a good reason to call it the God particle, because it was the only particle that could be found everywhere in the cosmos. So they named it the God particle. Even though I know God didn't create the cosmos, it still was a great symbol. So I did that. One time I was touring through Europe, and Pope Jean Paul, I think, had passed away, and they were going to elect a new pope. And while I was touring around Europe this time, they were all waiting for the white smoke to come out of the Vatican. And Pope Francis was, what a sweetie, was elected the first pope from South America, from Argentina, right here where Marina. And I'm like, so Jesus has so much fun when I go to Europe. He's always playing with God particles and popes and Euro cups. And yet, when I'm over in Europe, I basically talk about quantum physics, because Europe is much more into science. They don't like their history with Christianity. I mean, the Crusades, killing Muslims in Jesus' name, it's understandable. the Spanish Inquisition, murdering people over theology. It's understandable that they've turned more towards Eastern spirituality or towards science than Christianity. Because when the ego misuses the teachings of Christianity, then it gets very dark. I mean, the ego is very dark itself, so of course its interpretations of punishment, sacrifice, penance, no wonder they're not popular. No wonder people don't relate as much to Jesus as they do to the angels or Mother Mary or something. So that's all part of it, but still, if you have your calling and you really feel it rising in you as like a passion, then you'll be given step-by-step instructions and guidances to open the doors. And even when we say minister, there's no set way to be a minister of God. When Jesus says in Lesson 154, I am among the ministers of God, it's basically saying, when I let you, Holy Spirit, direct the way, I am among the ministers of God. And that can look many different ways. I happen to go to a lot of churches, but actually, when I was moving around a lot, I started to feel a little more like this Swedenborgian minister, Johnny Appleseed. I like Johnny Appleseed, because Johnny Appleseed was a Swedenborgian minister who just had a little, like a modern day purse, but a little bag over his shoulder, and he had apple seeds in there, and he would go and fling these apple seeds everywhere he went, and apple trees would spring up. And I thought, that's the way my life went. I was the springer of seeds of joy, seeds of happiness. And I would sit with people in their living rooms, in their backyards, and go with them to the grocery store and live with them. Most of my ministry was not going from Marriott to the Hilton, to big hotels and giving a lecture or a talk and writing a book that sold tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of copies and getting on a book tour. And neither was I locked up in one church to preach the gospel. I was more like Johnny Appleseed. People would open their doors to me. They would say, come, what do you need? Come and stay with us for some days, and come to church with us, or come to our course group with us. So it was a real heart-to-heart connection, and it's how Jesus opened up my heart to start to learn how to love everyone with the Spirit, inspiration moving through. And that's what it's about. It's about transformation of consciousness. It's not really about the position. And I was never a salaried minister in the early years. I was basically Johnny Appleseed, learning divine providence, learning to eat whatever was served, happy if they gave me a little mattress on the floor or a couch to sleep on, or a guest room, taking whatever Jesus would bring my way. I would accept it with great joy. We have someone, Koos, in our mystery school, he came all the way from Amsterdam to Guadalajara on a flight that was all dark. He flew, it was his dark night across the Atlantic, and it was dark the whole time, and then when he got here, for a while, he wanted to sleep on the grass at La Casa de Milagros in a tent, and he tried that out for some days, and yet, that's the spirit, just really be in the giving. I want to give, I want to extend, I want to love, show me the way. If that's your prayer, and there's to be a minister symbol in there, then the way will be shown. It will pop up somewhere along the way, and it will be obvious. But it's just great that you could write that into your question, just what was happening, and then you could feel it, you could feel the guidance, and that's most of it right there. Then your way is set. Then Jesus just goes before you and clears the path so you can find joy in something that you feel that's in your heart. So thank you. That's why we felt to read your question, because I think it's applicable to many, many people who either are here with us live or will hear this on audio or some other way. Yeah. Thank you. And that kind of question, that springs us into one of our favorite topics, giving.
Yes.
That is so dear to our heart.
Yeah. Because also this morning, Dave and I were talking, because there was a Facebook post of a quote of David's that says, function is not in form. Your function is not in form.
Has nothing to do with
Has
form.
nothing to do with form. And that is such a summary of the essence, because when we think of our function, even what is your plan for me, what's God's plan for me, what's Jesus' plan for me, it's very natural to think of the form, what should I do? But really, the function is in an attitude, and that is an attitude of giving. The form is going to be given moment by moment, and is never going to be something that we can pre-plan. That's why it's called Tabula Rasa, because when we really give the form and the symbols all up to the Spirit and saying, I am just here focusing on this attitude of giving, that's my real function with you, and then you can direct me, that's where we actually can flow along. You know, if there is a ministry to be unfolded, it's not going to be a ministry that we lead with a formula. It's going to be moment by moment as Jesus leads it, however it's going to look. So that's really, that's our function. It's this attitude of giving.
Yeah, and we know from the Course that the Holy Spirit is all about giving and extending, and the ego is all about getting and controlling. And that should tell you right there a little bit about your function, that you want to learn how to give as God gives, because God gives without conditions, without strings, without expectations. God gives in a way that totally rinses the mind of expectations and reciprocity. The ego doesn't mind the concept of giving as long as it can tack on the getting. I'll give this to you if you'll let me get this back in return. You see, it's a bargain. It's not, Jesus says that's not really giving at all. God didn't create us as pure spirit and say, and by the way, here's my demands, and here's the conditions of what you have to give back to me. God just radiated pure light and joy and spirit, total communion and communication, just because God is that way, not because God had to change something or require something. But in terms of this world, which is a world of ego, projection of ego, reciprocity is the key principle of the ego's world. It doesn't mind a little giving as long as you get something in return. I will sell you this product for this amount of money. I will sell you these goods or services for this amount of money. Everything in the ego's world is reciprocal. And Jesus tells us right out in the Course, and he says we have to undo the belief in reciprocity. So whether we're talking about being a minister, or whether we're talking about being a meditation teacher, or we're talking about just being someone who's really happy, that happiness will come in giving. It does not come from the getting mechanism of the ego. The ego is saying if you get enough salary, if you buy a house, a car, if you can get the right things in your life, you will be eventually happy. And it's a trick, because no one who is in getting mode ever finds lasting happiness. Recently, I had a friend from years ago who was an atheist art professor in northern Kentucky. His name I mentioned yesterday, I think it was Howard Storm, and I just was on YouTube on my phone the other day, and this old man showed up, and I didn't recognize him. It's been years since I've seen him. He had a white mustache, white hair, but I thought, oh, look at this guy. So I played it. It was Howard, my dear friend, comes back again, now in an older version, but it was very touching because his whole near-death experience was all about getting out of the career and the selfishness and the kind of the cold-hearted getting mode that he was in. He was a young professor, tenured, house, car, wife, children, and then when he had his near-death experience, he realized.
Yeah, that's what he realized in the whole near-death experience, is that he has lived a life that is self-centered and self-beneficial life of himself, and that's really the summary of a state that he was living. And then when he did, because he said when he was going through the near-death experience, he was going through the life review with Jesus, and really the life review was really just focusing on the moments where he actually popped out of this mentality and was very kind and was very generous, was very giving in his attitude. And that was where the angels are singing and Jesus were laughing when those moments of his life happened. And then he realized, he said, oh, this life that I have accumulated so much skills, I have achieved so much in this world in terms of achievements, awards, status, it all means absolutely nothing to love, to God, to Jesus. It means absolutely nothing. But those loving attitude of giving is really the only purpose that he has for his life. He just realized that one realization in the near-death experience.
Yeah. And I think at the beginning when I was working with the Course, when I was reading it, I could really feel this coming through to me very strong, but I just finished 10 years of university, so I was coming out of that modality of, education brings job, brings career, brings resources, brings all the stuff of the world that you're supposed to go after. And early on, I immersed myself so deeply in the Course after those 10 years of university. But the more I went deeper with Jesus, I said, this is not going to go at all like I had planned, right? And he's like, right. He said, basically everything you had planned for in your ambitions for your worldly life are just ego goals of the future that have to be undone. So you have labeled them as positive. They actually are blocks. These are the blocks to the awareness of the present moment and of God's eternal love. So basically I got very quickly that Jesus was saying everything you learn now has to be unlearned, and you've spent 10 years in university on top of your high school and your primary school learning, so you've got to listen to me and follow quite fully what I'm going to direct you to, because we have to clear away a lot of learning to come to the experience of peace of mind that you're praying for. And I asked him, I said, but if I let go of all that, which is what I see you're asking me to do, then how will I survive? How will I be provided for? And he said, no, don't worry about that, I'll take care of everything. And I said, what do you mean, everything? What exactly does that mean? He said, I mean everything. I mean everything of time and space. He said, I can arrange time and space for you if you're willing to serve what I'm going to give you to do. If you're willing to listen and follow, I will handle everything of time and space. And at first, I didn't even know what he meant by that. But he took me on a five-year road trip. He didn't tell me it would be 5 years, I wouldn't have gone, but he took me on a road trip that turned into 5 years, and he showed me in those 5 years that I didn't have to worry about where I would sleep, where I would get food, where I would find people to interact with. He arranged the people, the places, the food, the transportation. I mean, talk about knock your socks off. Talk about mind-blowing, direct experience of divine providence. So I thought, oh, this is how it goes. You teach me to trust and learn that I'm always in divine providence with your loving care, and then I just have to show up and be joyful and happy and let the miracle come through me. He's like, exactly, that's it. It's that simple. Oh yeah, it's that simple, but it just undoes my programming. Like of 28 years, I thought I was getting something accomplished here, and you're telling me that that was ground zero. We're starting at ground zero. Trust me, that's ground zero. So the most important thing we want to emphasize, though, is it always has been about the giving. It's about show up for love, show up for God. Don't be concerned about the who, the where, the what. Don't be concerned about all the practicalities and logistics. You show up for love, and you watch what a miracle and how easy and effortless it is to let the Holy Spirit and Jesus orchestrate your life. And I have to say that once I really said yes and I agreed to jump into that mode of giving, that everything else was provided really without effort. I mean, it was just like it came flowing to me and at me so fast that even then I had to discern, as I shared, when you get so many potlucks and so much food offered to you, you have to really be discerning what to eat, or when to eat, or how much to eat, because the abundance from serving Jesus is very strong. It's like you feel like you're just absolutely carried and flooded with abundance. And it's not the kind of abundance where you try to get a big career and you try to build a savings. Francis, one time you were telling me that the thing, when Francis first came to join with me, the thing that she had planned to do was have a very successful career, have a nest egg of savings and investments, and then when she would retire eventually, in her maybe 60s or something, then she would enjoy the fruits of that long career and all those work and investments. But
which is to travel around the world.
That was her whim, to travel around the world at the end of her life with her nest egg. And guess what Jesus did? He put it at the beginning. Without the career, without all the years and decades of career, that's Jesus. He saved the best for first. That was kind of a fun ride, too.
Yeah, save the best for first.
That's the way he really gets you into the kingdom of heaven. He saves the best for first. He gets you right at A of the alphabet, He's like, let me just swoop in there and really win your heart right at the beginning. And then you'll have a fun ride. But you see how different that is from our conditioning. Our programming is not telling us that. Our programming would say, that's a fairy tale. What fairy tale are you reading? But it's actually, it's miraculous. Yeah.
Even recently, because we haven't really been traveling for the last couple of years, and even recently, I think someone asked me, is that Jason, or someone asked me, like, why do you want to travel always? Or maybe it's JP. And I really started to think about this question. I thought, from the beginning, from the first time when I started to travel, I started to have mystical experiences on the road because I felt so taken out of my limited perspective, and I meet with people and I was showered with love on the road with them, and I came back always feel a bit like expanded and heart opened and wide-eyed. And that is actually really the reason I was associated travel with. Never really think about it like that until I was asked recently. And then I thought, wow, Jesus gave me both. Travel, meeting with people heart to heart, have a wide open experience on every single trip. That's actually really what I wanted to travel for. And that's exactly what he gave. He knows the heart of my desire more than I did, you know. Just, yeah, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. I can give one example of that. Francis, on 2017, we had a mystery school, and Francis was filming and making a movie and had recorded all this footage, lots of footage for this movie, and was kind of feeling maybe there's going to be a little more footage. And so I knew that that Francis and her partner both had this idea of, wouldn't it be fun to go to Iceland and to film some footage in Iceland and put it in the movie? Because you know, Iceland is, lots of movies are filmed up there because it's so extraordinary. So anyway, at one point, I was on the internet, I think, looking through, and I saw this thing come on, maybe on Facebook, and it said, contest for free trip to Iceland for 2. And I'm like, huh. So I read it, and it was an airline, an Icelandic airline called WOW. You know, we have American Airlines, Delta, WOW. This was WOW Airlines offering a contest for 2 people to make a blog wherever they were living in the world and put photos of your community and blog posts and submit an application to try to win all expense paid trip to Iceland on WOW Airlines, and you have travel expenses. They give you more expenses and everything. So I went over to Francis's casita and I said, hey, guess what? I found a thing on the internet where you can apply for a trip to Iceland. And she said, Iceland? I said, yeah, you just have to make a blog and take some photographs. So JP and Francis did it. They did the whole thing. They made the blog, they put in the photos, among maybe some hundreds of others from around the world saw the same ad that I did. And then they did not win. And then they were like, well, that was we really felt that, we were really excited. And so I said, well, I still think you should go to Iceland. So what, you lost? I still think you should go. And I had some kind of a thing called, what was it called? Love Swap,
oh, yeah.
Love Home Swap. I had this thing called Love Swap, Home Swap, where there was some extra points where you swap properties or you get points. And I said, hey, you could use these points when you're in Iceland and maybe put it out to our mailing list or to some friends and see if they would want to support your trip. Well, we did have, what was the woman's name?
Marie.
Marie said, I want to support your trip. So off they go to Iceland to film and to go driving around Iceland and shooting and everything. And then they had an amazing time, spectacular time, and on the plane flight back from Iceland, I think it was maybe to New York City, then Frances has her mystical experience in the plane on the way back from Iceland, where she's just one with the universe and she's just thinking, I want to feel this way forever. The whole trip was worth this vast mystical experience on the plane trip back from Iceland, and I just want to live in this state of mind that I'm feeling now. And that's an example about how you just have to stay open-minded, and you just have to stay open to all the opportunities and signs and symbols. Don't prejudge them, don't doubt them. Just let Jesus have some fun with you in your life in a way that blesses the whole universe. And that's the way we have been living our lives. I know if they wanted to make a movie of my life, it would take more than a mini-series. It would take like a month-long series to cover all the miracles over all the years, the decades. But it's like it's an adventure like nothing you could even imagine. And it all comes from, like we were saying with Annabelle, just following your heart and following the guidance that you receive. And the more you do that, the more doors open up. It's very quantum.
Yeah, that's it. That's like living in a state where you're guided with Jesus, guided by Jesus. It feels just like that. It's not too small. It's actually so mind-blowing that you can never foresee what is to come. So because when David connected with me on that particular thing, and also on a lot of the guidance that comes through the years, it's always like, what? But the feeling is it can't be true. It's too good to be true. It can't be this fun. It can't be this amazing. But it felt like the whole trip, but whole life started to take on that kind of quality. When we arrived in Iceland, we were driving on the road. All the traffic lights are in hardship. The red lights are all in hardship. And when we're driving, and we're like, is that just us who sees this? Because nobody seems to be amazed by that. And we were like, yeah, I think it's just us, but who cares? We were so beyond ourselves. We were just like, this is, it's
Heart
just
traffic lights.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you all, I know you all enjoyed Friday night, Eric and Ricky. I know you all enjoyed it. Friday morning, I just prayed, and Jesus was like saying, yep, they both need to be out there together. And wow, we all got to see how much fun that was. And Eric even shared a bit, like, he was thinking, oh my God, we don't have time to practice, and we haven't done anything together for years. And from the musician, the past learning, it was a little hesitation, but David really feels it. And then Ricky's like, are we doing one song? Or what are we doing here? And you saw them have so much fun for 2 hours, and that's another example of how you may feel a little hesitation with the guidance, because the ego doesn't want you to be happy. And so if the Holy Spirit and Jesus are dropping in these great nuggets of guidance, you may feel a burst of joy and inspiration initially, and then the ego is always lurking to try to dissuade you from following that guidance. Well, what about this? We haven't practiced. Or like Prince was just saying, what? Iceland? We're a trip to Iceland. But it made it in the movie. There's scenes in Take Me Home from Iceland, and that was just the whipped cream and everything. The cherry on the top was the mystical experience in the plane on the way back, that's worth everything. So that, just if you feel some inspiration, don't let the ego come in and try to reverse your willingness to follow the inspiration. That's the time for faith. That's the time to really say, no, I'm worthy of miracles, and I'm worthy of following this glorious guidance. Well, I see
A lot of hands.
the hands are lighting up. Peter, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And Wesley and Angie slipped it in there. 8, 9.
We can put in the chat how to raise your digital hand, and let's. We might go to some who haven't talked at this retreat yet to start with. So we could go to Louise Bernard. You can unmute there.
Hi, you hear me? Hi.
Yes. Hi, Louise.
Oh my gosh! When I raise my hand, you talk a lot, and I had the anxiety just came up, and I said no. This morning and the night before, I had the intuition to raise my hand and talk, and I'm a little bit clueless right now. And the movie yesterday, I want to thank you, and I thank myself to to have decided to stay there and look at the movie until the end, because I saw and I felt something very deep inside. And at the end, there's something, I find a book that just fall down here in front of me, and it's 1,000 Names for Joy from Byron Katie. And you know, I never wanted to talk about being joyful or happy, because it was so ordinary and so not holy. And then yesterday I heard, and I think I can understand truly what happiness means. And if I want to give, I have to be happy. And that's what I find in this weekend. And the movie before, I tried to listen to this movies a few times, but I never did it, because it was too, for me, it was too scary. But this time, I don't know what's happening, but I'm very happy that I stayed there and listened to each and everyone sharing, because we are all together in this. And I will end with that. When I was waiting after raising my hand, and before, I saw, I think it is in the movie Revolver, when the man who is he is in the elevator, and ego is screaming at him, but when he came out, the ego character was there, was red, and his face was so red, and he was in his short, you know, and screaming and screaming and screaming, and he just passed by, and it was finished. And I see often the ego screaming at me, in short, you know, slip, that's the word, with its red face. And, you know, I see this image, and then now I know that I can pass by, just, and don't look at it. That's what I wanted to say to you, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Louise. Thank you. Love you.
Beautiful.
Thanks, Louise. We could go to Daniel next. You can unmute there.
Hello, David, Francis, and all participants there. Actually felt a lot less nervous this time when I raised my hand. That's a good thing, I think. I practiced a bit in the breakup rooms yesterday. We shared two things just to overcome the fear of raising my hand and speaking up. So my heart is still pounding a bit, but it's less, so that's good. I actually felt for a while that I wanted to share part of my story with you, David, because I think it's a very good example of how fast things can go. Actually, last year, October, I was at I think my rock bottom. I counted the course already 5 years ago, and
Daniel, Could you move a little bit closer to the microphone, because we can't hear you very well?
Switch to myself.
Yeah, very good.
Let's see if I can hear you. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
Good.
Is this better?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Peter, for interrupting to say this, because it's actually important to say, I think. Okay, so last October I was at rock bottom, I think. I had the course in my life for 5 years already, but I was still, I think, getting to the point where I was really committed to it and really started to practice it. I actually went to a few retreats of Gary Renard and Coach Jansson here in Holland, who's a translator of the course. And so I did quite some things, did something with the workbook, but never had the full commitment to go for it. I think my ego was quite squared for that moment, because previous year actually all my old addictions came up and came actually harder than before. I used HDHD medication a lot, drank quite a lot, smoked some weed. I shared about it, about losing the driver's license, I think in October. But then in October, I had the moment that I was really feeling that something had to change. And I can really remember the moment that I was sitting in my, actually my old house, against a big stone stove. I'm not sure how to call it, like what heats your place. A real big stone thing with a bench. So I sat there, nice warm place, and I prayed out loud, I think for maybe an hour. And I think that the main prayer was, I want to be truly helpful, because I really felt that. Really felt that I wanted to be helpful, but that I did not have the tools at the moment to do that. And that I had too much distraction in my life to even know where to start. And actually, from that point on, my life started to transform so fast. I think the New Year retreat was a very important moment as well. At 1 January, I started the workbook, and I never missed a day. I did some retreats, some movie sessions. Actually, my relation of 15 years is now not what it was. I live in another place, but was rough at times, but I can see that it's all working out now for the greater plan. And I'm scared at times, and I feel really how do you say that? I'm not so confident every moment, but it starts to get lighter. Day by day, and so I have real good days where I can feel that I'm on the right path, and I have some days that I I think that I'm still a long way from where I want to be, but it's getting better and better. So I just felt to share this story with you, David, because I wanted to just expose it and bring it out there or something. I'm not sure, but I wanted to write to you, but today was today. I had the chance, I think.
Oh, beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Oh, you got muted.
One last thing. I can't wait for what's to come, because I feel it's going fast now, and I feel that my life is going to transform some more. So I'm ready for that. I'm really ready. Let's go.
Beautiful. We're with you. We're with you all the way.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
Yeah. It's exciting. It's exciting when you really take the steps and you make that that commitment, and you really start doing those workbook lessons and saying, lead the way and show me, then you can feel it. You can feel you're part of a bigger plan, and the ego will try to pick it apart and say, oh, what about the relationship, or what about this and this? But there's a transformation happening, and you're ready for whatever's going to come. So I'm happy that we're mighty companions on this journey. We're there for each other. And you just speaking it publicly, just like that prayer, you did it out loud for a full hour, and then the Spirit really kicked it into gear. So that's a good example for everyone. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Daniel. We can go to Marcos next. You can unmute.
Hello, Francis. Hello, David.
Hi, Marcus.
Hi, Marcus.
Hello, everybody. I was just wondering, this retreat started with Francis talking about setting up the goal, and well, it also comes to my mind making the rules for decisions. So it always comes up to my goal, or to my setting up my day for the same will I have with God, which is flow my day with peace, with joy, and with love. So when we talk about the goal, it always comes up to these three things. So I don't know if I have to set up another thing, or is that the goal? Is the goal always the same?
Yeah, I think you've got it.
Because I know it's not in the form, so it's like in my function. So it always comes up to these three things, and well, that's my prayer, to have my days flow with joy, peace, and love. And when I say love, it's through miracles. I can live day by day. So that's my question is is the goal always the same I'm trying to reach?
I think so.
Yes. Yeah, that's it. It's just that we with all of our past conditioning, we always associated goals with the future. If somebody had said, what's your present goal? We would say, what are you talking about? Because the ego always puts out future goals to maintain its smoke screen, its self-concept, and make sure that you never reach them. That's part of its trick, Like the carrot, you keep reaching for the carrot, and it keeps moving the carrot, and you reach farther and higher, and it's like, what kind of game is this? But it's very different from the goals of the world. Jesus says that in the Course. He said, you may have noticed how different the goal of this Course is from the goals of the world. It's extremely different. And we're not asked to be goal setters for the future, but that peace and that joy, that love, that happiness that you want. That's what rules for decision are saying too. Like, decide the kind of day you want in terms of experience, in terms of emotion, and then say to yourself, if I make no decisions by myself, this is the day that will be given me. So it's rinsing us from an entirely different mindset and asking us to have faith for another one. It's almost as if we were a hamster on a wheel and we just used to spinning the wheel every day, just hopping on the wheel and spinning it, that Jesus is outside of the wheel, and he's like, I'm over here. I'm over here. I'm not on that wheel. No matter how fast you pedal, that's not me. I'm over here. Come step outside with me. And that's more just saying, hold the present goal of what you truly want. What state of mind do you want? And then sometimes he even says, you can envision some specifics if it's helpful. because he knows how the mind believes in specifics. So sometimes people can envision like a free-flowing day where there's lots of synchronicities and things just show up easily and are welcome in easily. You know, they may have some specifics in mind that are helpful. Almost a little bit like Joe Dispenza. You know, he likes to say, create your day. You know, think of the things you want to happen, and you know, that's a version of it. But ultimately, what Jesus is saying, I want you to stay with your present goal, and hold it clear and firm like a bright torch, right out in front of you. Hold your present torch brightly right in front of you. And when you slip away, sometimes you're tempted to have your torch go behind you. Just bring it back out. Just bring it back out, you know, and just keep that torch there. And it works. It will show you that it works. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Marcos. We could go to Aman next. You can unmute there.
Yeah. Hi, David. Hi, Francis.
Hi, man.
I was listening to the Francis story, like, you know, like all the travels and the mystical experiences that shared. And I was like really feeling like, God, I wish I could have, you know, that sort of a life where, you know, the guidance flows, you know, without any block, and everything is in a flow. And this is one thing that I struggle with, is not being able to, I mean, sometimes through symbols, through external symbols, I am able to decipher the guidance when it comes through somebody else, but I'm not able to, despite spending so many years, I'm not able to a lot of times decipher like what it is that what is the Jesus plan for me. And I want, like, especially I want to talk about something in the area of romantic relationships. Like there is a pattern that has been in my life for right from the beginning, like with every girl who came in my life. It was like that she would come, and before things could go in a romantic direction, even though the girl would be interested, uh, before anything could develop romantically, she would completely lose interest in me. And most of the time, it would be some kind of a absolutely stupid reason. And so many times I would not even know why suddenly she is blocking me, or she is not interested in talking with me, and she's just suddenly leaving. And initially when it used to happen, like in the like 8, 9, 10 years before that, at that time I used to get completely shattered, and I used to feel a very deep sense of loss. And I used to feel like I will never get a girl like that. And another issue with me is like I'm not able to get attracted easily. Like it's very difficult for me to feel attracted towards a girl. Like out of 200, 300, 400 girls, I might get attracted to one girl. And so that makes it even more difficult for me to get in a relationship. And I am almost approaching 40. Maybe in a year I'll be 40. And still I have not had even a single relationship. And so I'm not able to decipher the guidance, like what is it that Jesus plan is for me. Like, am I supposed to be like celibate or a monk, or something? Like I just want to, or like I want to know, like what is it that is what is the error in my perception? What is it that what is the error in my perception, and what is it that I'm not understanding? If you could, you know, throw some light on, or if you feel any inspiration for me, like am I supposed to become a monk? because that also happened a few years ago. Like there was a phase, or a long phase, almost a year or so, where I absolutely lost interest in sexuality at all, anything sexual. So those phases have been there as well, but there was a lot of loneliness also. That once in a while, for a few months, there would be a lot of loneliness would arise, and then it would be like I will work on it more and more, and then it will pass, and then maybe after 6 months or a year again it will arise. So I'm just struggling with, like, what is it, what is, like, this seems to be the biggest, like the most biggest challenge, or the biggest block that I'm unable to resolve. So if you could throw some light on what is the error in my understanding, or what is it that I'm not what is blocking, or what could be, if you feel any inspiration for me, like anything from G.
Oh, thank you, Aman. Yeah, well, just like Marcos, who was asking the question before you about setting the goal, and we've talked today about the goal. It could be peace, joy, love, happiness. It could be, it is present. The goal has to be a present goal. And I know when we've talked over the years, we've covered everything from whether you should, open a particular kind of business because you come from a family that, is successful. We've talked about relationship issues. We've talked about all kinds of different tangent issues. But I really feel it's coming back to that desire to give, and also in the desire to give is like a surrendering over to Spirit, to Jesus, the form. Because when we want to have a form goal, whether it's a romantic relationship or it's a successful business or whatever it is, I'm always reminded of that line that Jesus gives in the Beyond All Idols section of the text, pretty late on, where he says, when you decide upon the form of what you want, then you lose the understanding of its purpose. So form and purpose are in an inverse relationship. The more that you focus on the form, the more you lose the purpose. The more you focus on the purpose, the more the form becomes irrelevant. Like you're actually saying to Jesus, you arrange time and space for me, you handle the form. Part of that is also giving over to Jesus relationships and just say, instead of me trying to decide the relationships based on my past preferences or my past learning, I want you to be in charge of the relationships. And we did a relationship movie recently, wasn't it? Deja Vu, yeah. We had a whole movie on Saturday looking at that, where as long as there was expectations coming up in terms of the form, the characters were going crazy. It was very intense. There was a lot of guilt. And then when finally two of them kind of surrendered into what all the signs and symbols were pointing them toward, you could feel it was more of their surrender to a purpose than it was to a resignation to a particular form. So that's why we talk so much about giving, because that's what, when I said at the beginning, and Francis mentioned that quote, your function has nothing to do with form. The meaning of that is our function is forgiveness. And forgiveness is a state of mind, it's a way of looking, it's an attitude that frees our mind. So that's the wise gem. You're saying, can you make sense of this and bring in the wise gem? The wise gem is to not try to lead with or direct the form. And even for that example with JP and Francis flying to Iceland, the goal wasn't Iceland. The goal wasn't specifically filming in Iceland. It was more of a goal in the heart of connection, of expansion, of true function, which is a state of mind. It's a purpose in the mind. It's not a specific form. So that's where the ego's been kind of frustrating you. It's saying, come on, Aman, you're 39 years old, make up your mind. Are you going to go for the monk route? Or are you going to go for the romantic relationship route? Are you going to go for this business or that business? You see, it's always trying to paint you in a corner where you have an impossible choice. This also contradicts the script is written. Imagine, there you are in India, and the greatest spiritual tradition in the world. What's the song? What's the movie that where he drops down into the toilet? Slumdog Millionaire. Slumdog Millionaire is just one among others of teaching that the script is written and that you have everything inside of you, and you don't have to figure it out because it's all orchestrated for you, and the script is written. You just have to surrender to the joy of the moment, and then let whatever's destined to unfold will unfold. Wow, that is so profound. You come from a country with some of the most profound teachings and profound mystics and prophets and profound spiritual awakenings, and I've known you for many years. You were my guide in Rishikesh. You guided me by the hand around Rishikesh, India. And I know you have this deep spiritual calling. Probably out of your whole family, you're the one that has this deep spiritual calling. And I think it still comes down to faith and trust. And like Marcos was saying, really focusing on what is my goal, and that it's a present goal. And that's what you need to focus on. You really just need to just imagine praying a prayer and saying, show me how to give. Like, show me how to give abundantly, and I'll accept whatever form you throw my way. What a prayer. And maybe you could even do like Daniel did, do it out loud. Do it out loud there in your room. Turn it into a chant and mean it with all of your heart, and then that's where the big shift occurs. Because finally we're praying more on God's terms instead of our ego's terms. The ego wants a nice set answer. Okay, you will be a monk for the next 40 years. Or you will meet your soulmate in Delhi at such and such a date, such and such a time, so you're there in the cafe. Where is she? You see, that makes for a good movie. An American movie, but not one of these script is written Indian movies that goes with a grand slam, that goes all the way, not about, so-and-so meets so-and-so, That's it's okay, it's nice, but we like the big juicy stuff, like spiritual awakening and enlightenment. That's what you're my guide in Rishikesh. Remember your strength. We love you.
Thank you, Aman. We could go to Inike next. You can unmute there.
Hello, can you hear me? Hi.
Yes.
Finally, for the first time, I watching every month, and I follow you years and years, and I never was able to speak. But it was the last few years. It was there was happening a lot of things. 3 years ago, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. Unfortunately, I had the course, and I had the feeling that there was a full surrender. So I'm fine now, but a couple of weeks I felt and broke my wrist on a very fracture. It was very complicated. And I thought, okay, this is happening and I will survive, but that didn't happen. So I thought, but what is happening now to me? And I needed this for opening my deep emotions. And the last couple of days, now I felt that this was a gift of breaking my wrist, and all kinds of emotions came for years and years, and I cried and I didn't know what was happening. And since this weekend, I'm feeling such a light feeling because also of the moving. And it started last Friday when Debbie said in the monastery, I am afraid. And she opened the door for me. It was as she was only speaking to me. And then I felt that sharing the feelings, saying what's on your heart is not only for me, but it is for all. And I didn't think about it, but I felt it. And I was so grateful for that. And then I was able to open more. And the film yesterday was really mind-blowing. It was, and this afternoon I made a walk with my husband, and I was sitting on a bench in the park, and when I was looking to the birds, they were looking for worms, and then they flew away. And suddenly I thought, thank you, birds, for the performance. And this was such a strange feeling because there was how can you tell this? A distance, but at the same time, a connection behind that form. Then I realized that I can do this with everything I see. So I came home, and there was noise of the neighbors and the children of the neighbors. And I thought, thank you for your performance. This was a very new feeling, and it felt light, happy, and I was able to talk for the first time now, because there's changed something. I don't know exactly what, but I'm so much more open, and that's what I want to share. And also my gratitude for all that you were doing, and I love you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we can see it on your face. You have a new inspiration to use, a new tool. And it's one thing when we watch a TV show or a movie or something where we see it as entertainment and it's a performance. But to do it with birds flying away, or to do it with the everyday things, and to feel that happiness, like we have a gratitude to behold the world and to feel grateful for the performance, knowing that it's a performance. Yeah, that's the key, that's what turns the key. So, yeah, like that is a great reminder, like even going to a play and then you applaud all the characters in the end. You don't boo the bad characters and applaud the good characters. You applaud all the characters for their part in the play. And I think that's what Jesus called gaining full appreciation, where you start to gain a big, broader gratitude and appreciation for everything. And eventually it comes to thank you Holy Spirit for everything in my life. We even have a movie called Mr. Destiny, which is the final realization of the main character. At the end, he believed his life would be better if something was different. In the end, he goes, "Thank you for everything, exactly the way it happened." And that's what you did even with your wrist. You know, it went from being a negative to a gift, that you could see a gift of tapping into those deeper emotions. So, what a witness. Thank you for sharing, and we love that we heard you speak.
Thank you. We could go to David next. You can unmute there.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, hi David.
This is my first retreat. I was encouraged to come by my partner Nani, who's here and has done this many times. I can relate to Daniel. This is a bit for me like coming face to face with James Earl Jones or Morgan Freeman. I've watched many of your videos, both you and David and Francis. And there are many parts of your stories and your lives that I can relate to. I'm also a recovering financial consultant and grew up not far from where you were in Ohio. I'm from Southern Michigan, from a family of mostly Dutch and German farmers who had a very dark view of life and religion. The joke in my family is that my mother especially can find the dark cloud behind every silver lining. If the weather is beautiful today, then watch out because it's going to storm tomorrow and everything's going to be destroyed. And as I spoke about in the breakout group yesterday, my history with religion is not a good one. It was used as a rod and a whip in our family and was the basis for a lot of shame. So finding A Course in Miracles and this process is both a beautiful gift and also very difficult. I can relate to some of the things that Daniel and others have said about the challenges of this process and of being in relationship with someone who is deeply committed to this process. It uncovers layer after layer after layer after layer of things to be forgiven and healed and let go of. In this past year and a half, actually the past 3 years, with a divorce and having to adjust to having my kids only have time as a lifelong stay-at-home dad, that's been a challenge. And being in this current state with quarantine and lockdowns and one challenge in the world after another has just been like being in a pressure cooker. So I remember seeing on Facebook a meme that was going around that said this year, 2020 at the time, gives you the choice between coming out as a monk, a drunk, a hunk, or a chunk. So choose wisely. I found that those are not mutually exclusive. You could wind up as a drunk monk, for example. From my own history, my emotional bandwidth is fairly narrow. I can tolerate only a certain amount of any strong emotion before my breakers get tripped. And what I am working toward is no longer retreating into avoidance or alcohol or one form or another of numbing, and just giving this over to God, which is difficult because intellectually, I'm able to approach the idea of God or Jesus from a healing standpoint, but there's so much inbred pain around those words that there's a disconnect. There's cognitive dissonance between what I want and what I'm able to do, and learning to give that up and to trust. Even to hear people like you speaking about saying the word Jesus, it's not a healing thing for me yet. I'm working toward it. So what I'm trying to put on the altar is letting go of the Jesus and the God that were used to punish and shame and blame in my past, and what I want Jesus and God, the Buddha, any religious figure to be a figure of love and trust and forgiveness. That's a process. It's not a trivial process. So thank you for helping with that. And thank you both for the example.
Thank you. Thank you so much, David. Yeah, we have a beloved who's in our mystery school down here, named Kenneth, and he went through a huge shaming process through his Christian upbringing, and for the last 3 or 4 years we've just joined with him and connected and linked in. And when he first came to our Utah monastery, even the word Jesus just triggered huge emotion, like a volcano of emotions. And he's working the process, and so we're very joined with you in that. And Kenneth might even, he's with us today on the show, but he might be a really good link. Also, Kenneth has we both have a mutual friend who's in a penitentiary in Chillicothe, Ohio, not too far from, a little south from where you grew up, and he started reading the Course and my books, and he's in there for murder. He was a boxer. He was even on ESPN, and he went into the penitentiary for murder. He is so lit up now that they are using our movies with the Movie Watcher's Guide to Enlightenment inside the penitentiary. All the inmates are lighting up because they're trying to find that essence of innocence and healing. And a lot of them had to go through the Christian terminology and many different things like that. But I would recommend, I know you and Nani are coming together soon here in September. I would recommend maybe starting with a small book of mine called Quantum Forgiveness, because I actually come at it using quantum mechanics and quantum teachings to come at forgiveness in that way, using an episode, a very famous episode from TV, like a Star Trek episode, which is really non-religious, but very metaphysical. And there's other ones on there like Solaris. I just got a message yesterday from my friend Jeffrey, who said that Dale, who's the man in prison, is teaching all this inside the prison now, with quite a lot of students. But one of the prisoners, a young man, said, "Oh, I can't relate to this movie Solaris with George Clooney." He said, "No, that's definitely not for me." So Dale gave him his own copy of the Quantum Forgiveness, and this young prisoner read through that and watched Solaris 3 times and had a huge mind expansion, a huge breakthrough from just this suggestion of Dale, this prisoner, giving him this book. But I think that you and Nani could, if you just kind of focus on movies and programs that we offer that are really not so religious, like Quantum Forgiveness, I think that'll be a soft inroad where you can slowly build more confidence in the healing without having to face some of that past conditioning. Because those layers, I think the people that have the most trouble with the Course are the ones that come through that kind of a background and tradition you're talking about. It's so highly charged that sometimes it's better to come from another angle. And you could both watch these together and pause them as emotions are coming up, and let the Spirit take you through like a more gentle approach. And Helen Schuckman one time was told by Jesus, she was a psychotherapist, a research psychologist, but and I know you're a therapist and Nani's a therapist, but Helen was told by Jesus, never go for the jugular, he told her. And that's good advice from Jesus Christ. Never go for the jugular. He always said, work on the secondary defense mechanisms so you can build a sense of confidence in the healing first, and then eventually down the road you will face the jugular. But don't go there too quickly, because it can be debilitating. It can short-circuit the whole healing process. So thank you for your courage and willingness to come on for us. And yeah, we love you, and I can feel the spirits using you and Nani in a way that can be very supportive and helpful and complementary. Yeah. Mm.
Thank you, David. Yeah, let's go to Marcella next. You can unmute there.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so I just wanted to share how I'm feeling here at the Mystery School after hearing everyone share what they're going through. I can totally relate with them. And that's how I was feeling a few months ago. And after the conversation I had with Francis on Thursday, I realized I'm feeling now completely embraced. I'm feeling clueless, but at the same time so taken care of and so embraced. And I just wanted to express my gratitude to everyone here and all the mighty companions, because it was a really intense process for me the last year, but now I just feel so embraced and so taken care of. And just, yeah, wanted to express my gratitude. My heart is beating really fast. But yeah, so just wanted to thank you, David, Francis, everyone here, and all the mighty companions who are in the Zoom room and who have been joining. I think what we're doing here is for the whole universe, for everyone. Just wanted to thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Marcella.
Thank you.
Thanks, Marcella. Okay, well, we can go to Esther next. You can unmute.
Thank you so much. Oh, wow. This is great. David and Francis, you have been giving me feedback I'll answer your questions to helping me so much. I wanted to thank everyone that helps me with the t-shirts, because I got feedback when I asked for it and I made adjustments. This is the one of them. And it's created me kind. And Alan has gotten me on a new project. It's called NFT. It's crypto artwork. And I had that feeling that I don't know anything about it. It's very hard to figure it out. So I have my stepmother helping me. But initially it was like this glow and this excitement and feeling just this is given to work on this. And then all of the things that you were saying, yes, some this weekend was like, well, it's not about the money. And that's what I was getting excited about, kind of, that there's a lot of money involved. And people are buying these digital artworks of pictures of dogs and mushrooms for a lot of money. And they're thinking of it as an investment opportunity, these images. And I'm not the greatest artist myself, but I'm wanted to collaborate with a lot of people who are artists. And the point of my bringing it up is not to like to be focused on the giving, like you're saying, you know, and I wanted to ask you, do you have a feeling about that? And and then also to bring ideas that are like lofty, like from the course. I got permission from the course to use their sayings in artwork and to make the platform of this digital art a place for people to have ideas to play with. That's what the giving came for us to expand into this area. And also there was one other thing. I don't know, I'm just so grateful for everything that you share, both of you. And I just thank you. Yes. The artist that did the Jesus pictures with the words from you, Alvarez, I think his name is. I was thinking of collaborating with him and seeing if we could put his artwork on this digital art. So if you're getting that, and the whole idea of if there was a lot of money involved would be to donate to the course book, to the artist, to the Living Miracles, because what I'm doing now with these t-shirts, there's no money involved, and I really was intending to donate to you, and there's just nothing in it. So, and I'm also called, my mom moving is going to allow me possibly, I'm feeling this tickle to come to Mexico and spend time with you guys. And I don't know what it's going to look like and if I'll really be able to do it, but I wanted to know if I could come. I may only be able to come for like a week or a couple of days. And I just really wanted to spend time with you. For some reason, I really feel called to do that, David. I feel like there's a blossoming going on, and I'm just, that's what's coming to me. So thank you.
That's good. Thank you, Esther. Well, that's good. It's the first time I've ever heard of crypto art. I should, and then animals too. I should consult with my cat, Iso, about that, because he's quite mystical, but he might knows. We did have Pete did a little artwork of his face, and he had a fun interaction with that. But as far as using some of the paintings or something like that, yeah, it's just the collaborations like you've had with the t-shirts, you know, that ideas are strengthened as they're shared, and Jesus wants us to have fun sharing these ideas in inspired ways, and then trusting everything will work out. And we can tell if the doors start to open, if we move in a direction and we make a few contacts and doors start to open, or you start getting some, yeah, I'm excited about that. That can be a nice symbol. But yeah, with cryptocurrencies, now crypto art, it's of course it's going in that direction. But you just have to feel inspired with it. That's the main thing. Yeah, go where your heart really opens up. Yeah. Oh, and as far as the stay, we have mystery school for 6 weeks, but then we'll have a prayer stay pause. Is it about 5 or 6 weeks? 6 weeks after that. And I talked to Lisa a while back, and she's open to ranges from anywhere from a couple, 2-3 days to a week to 5 or 6 weeks. So I think there'll be a lot of flexibility, but that's going to start somewhere in after mid-October. It will start after that. Yeah. So that'll give you a time range if you want to check out some flights, and just write to Lisa too. If you feel like you want to work in a few days, 2 or 3 days that you can work into your schedule, that would work. Yeah. Thank you, Esther.
Thanks, Esther. We can go with Silmar next. You can unmute.
There.
That's good. We hear you.
Good morning. I'm beyond speaking. I have so much emotion. I want to thank everyone who has shared today for bearing your heart and helping me to get in touch with the deeper part of the heart that is so used to not noticing the little teeny nuances of emotions. And because of you all, and because of the movie yesterday, where I noticed that Truman never blamed anybody. He never had any grievance with anyone. And he didn't know they were actors either. He just loved. And he gave, and that's my true nature. And I got so convoluted all the years that everything in my ego, I couldn't recognize it was ego. I could feel my feelings were deep, and they were not allowed, though. My feelings were really scary to most everybody around me. And so I learned to sort of like suppress them and not even become aware of them myself until Jesus had been always there, even though I rejected him too. He had been always there, because in about 1987, around that time, this poem came through, and I knew it wasn't coming from my head. I never had written a poem in my life, but it was so heart opening that it really changed the course of everything for me. And I entertained the possibility. I didn't do it yet, but it was like an opening to accepting. I can relate to David so deeply, because I even challenged Jesus, and I said, I do want to believe that you're real. I do want to believe that you're true, that everything you are, you are, and is not a fairy tale. And so I said, but I need a sign. I need you to give me a sign. I just can't believe like most other people do. So you give me a sign. And within a week of that, no, not even a week, 3 days, on a Good Friday, my daughter was screaming, Mom, come look at this, come look at this. And I said, what is it? I was downstairs, it was the townhouse, and I was downstairs cooking, and I said, I can't come right now. She said, you gotta come right now, you gotta come right now. So I came up, and I said, okay, what? She said, look, and she pointed to the window and to the moon, and the moon it was the most beautiful thing, a perfect cross, and the moon was in the center, and there was a cross on the moon. And I said, oh, that's the screen, Nikki, you can't, that's the distortion of the screen. She says, no, Mom, no, come. So she took me to the next room, which was a laundry room, and it had no screen. And sure enough, there was a perfect symbol. And at first I thought, could this be? But I was half incredulous. But at 3 o'clock in the morning, I got awoken with, I don't know what it was, it must have been a revelation, but it was like a movie I was part of. And I heard words. The first word I heard was relax, you're being guided. That was the first set of words I heard. And I didn't know where it was coming from. And then the next set of words was, be here now. And I thought, okay, And then the next set was the one that really just opened me up. It said, this love you feel in your heart is Christ in your heart. Because I had rejected the words and the symbols and, grew up in a Catholic convent and a lot of distortions and things. So I threw away the baby with bathwater. Didn't want to hear the word Jesus. I used a lot like Jesus Christ in anger. And that's the only time. But there was something in my heart that knew the tenderness and the love and everything that pure love is. I just knew it. I could feel it, but I was confused with the distortions of those, worldly projections. And so I finally said, after that experience, I was there. I don't know how long I was there in that ecstasy for a long, long time. But from that point forward, symbols started coming. A friend of mine brought a book, and I opened it up, and it had a funny it was Shiva dancing in the portrait. It said, the only dancer is. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. And then I looked in the bags, there's other books by Ram Dass, Be Here Now. And that was like, oh, I got to have that book. And that was the beginning of the search, the true. And the poem was called The Joyful Journey, and it was about the search. And it was a heart-opening poem. It was really, really powerful. And from that point, and I hadn't noticed until the January retreat, until that point, Jesus had been sending me poems. And I knew I wasn't writing them, but these poems were beautiful and they were teaching me. One is called The Key to Order, because I label, or I didn't label myself, but I had all the characteristics of ADHD as a child. And so I couldn't sit still, I couldn't focus, all that stuff. So the symbols were so powerful and they kept coming and the poems kept coming, but I never ever recognized that this was guidance until that last workshop, when the prayer of my heart came in, and it was every time I read it, I just started crying because it touched me so deeply. And that's when I realized, oh my gosh, this has been my guidance. And I've been saying, please send me, guide me. And all the time, all along, it was there. So.
Sorry, Soma, I just hit the mute button by accident, but we do need to wrap it up. So thank you very much. Okay, well, maybe we could go with Wesley and Angie next. You guys can unmute.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, David, Francis, everybody.
So Angie and I had a seemingly very obvious guidance come through yesterday, and then David, when you said, yeah, you get this guidance, and then the ego comes in afterwards and it's like, hey, da, 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 da. So the guidance was, we immediately after the session yesterday, we felt to call Amanda and Micah, and we had a beautiful connection with them. We had, we stayed at La Casa with them for 5 or 6 months, and there's a lot of love between all of us. And they invited us to Spain with the idea that there's going to be potentially a community that is going to start there. And so we thought it just felt really good. We said yes. And then we got off of the call with them and we walked like a minute and we saw this van that said Euro travel. And we had both been feeling like, because there was a bunch of darkness that came up over the last week. And at one point, Angie said, maybe it's time to travel. So then I was just checking in and I was like, okay, well, maybe that's what is going on here. And then we talked to Mike and Amanda. They said, they invited us there. Then we saw this Euro travel thing. And it was just like, oh my God, we both felt open and expansive. And then I checked my Facebook and I hadn't been on in several days just to go have more time to go inward. And when I went and checked, there was a message from Diona And she's like, I'm going to Spain and going there for 4 months, and I'm going to Jenny Maria's community and all this. And so it's like, I'm like, okay, let's not jump to conclusions here. Like, okay, we need to see more. I need to be clear. And then ideas came up about needing vaccines to go there, and it takes a bunch of time to get the full vaccine thing done. And then my mind went to, okay, maybe we're just supposed to travel in Mexico. And then I woke up this morning and I'm like, I don't feel any of this, but I let go of the idea of going to Europe or Spain because I have limitations around money and the time it would take for this vaccine. But then I asked, show me clearly this morning. And then Francis was talking about travel, and David, you were sharing the story about you traveling in Europe, and it was like, okay, I'm getting the picture here. And so at one point, I think when Francis was sharing, Angie looks over at me and she's just like got this, like she's beaming, and she's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, I get it. But there's still the ideas of perceived limitation around money, and I can see a healing going on with the vaccine. I thought I had didn't have an issue with it, but I see now it comes up in the mind, and it's, oh, okay, no, I actually have to heal this idea, which started, I listened to a David Hawkins recording where he was talking about muscle testing people, like to see what effect certain things had on them. And it addressed the part of my mind that still believes in science and the body. And he said, basically, when people get to between 70 and 80 in the lessons in the course, they start testing strong towards things that most people in general society seem to have difficulty with, aspartame. And I realized lesson 76, there is no law but God's laws of medicine and nutrition and all this stuff. I experienced a really deep healing when I got to that lesson. And it's coming up here, and it's going deeper and letting go. There is no vaccine. There's no body. There's nothing that affects anything like that in the physical world. So it's like this opportunity to step through this still seeming belief in these things. But yeah, it looks like that's what the guidance is. That's what the invitation is. And I feel when I think about it, when Angie said, "Oh, let's share," and I'm like, "Oh, this is what I want to share about." It was like I felt like excitement and fear, and like my heart was beating, and it was like, okay, so whether it happens or not, this is the direction, and it's like I want to say yes to this. I don't know how any of it's going to happen. And yeah, so we'll see. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we love your trust. Just staying open, watching the signs along the road. As the Madonna song says,
yeah.
Ray of Light. Traveling down this road, watching the signs along the road. We actually had a call this morning with Spain too. So yeah, it's a lot in the mind right now. Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I was muted. It was really great what I was saying, but anyway. I was just saying we're at the top of the hour. We have 3 hands up. How are you guys feeling?
I'm pretty good.
Pretty good. Okay, let's do this 3. I mean, we have from our mystery school, from the monastery, and we have Elisa here.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, well, how about Elisa? You can go first.
Thank you. Hi, Francis, David, everyone. So I wanted to share that. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
That sometimes I feel amazingly when I'm in the purpose, I think. But then I was just struck with a lot of emotions and judgments, and I start feeling bad. I guess it's like you mentioned, the ego trying to sabotage my happiness or whatever, because it doesn't want me to be happy and light, right? So I wanted to be honest. I don't know. When I feel happy, I just feel happy. But when I feel the other way, I seem to give a lot of attention or energy or power to it, and then I start getting into that. And I just wanted to share that that's what I seem to go through, and if you can help me with that, because I mean, I bet you have been there in part of your path. And also I wanted to share, I was very touched and happy when I heard Aman's sharing. Aman, yeah, you're there. Yeah, thank you. It was so loving what you shared. And then David, your response to him was, as far as relationships go, Jesus, I'm gonna trust you for the relationships. And when you said that, I was like, oh, oh my God. I felt a lot of fear, like trusting Jesus for my relationships. I just felt fear, and I wanted to share that. I guess I don't trust. And also there seems to be a belief in scarcity and lack. So when you were sharing about when you are working with Jesus and you're aligned with the Spirit, and a lot of things come abundantly, like you feel shocked and let's say positively overwhelmed with all the abundance. And I was very drawn to that, because I don't know, I think that's the state where I want to be. And if you can also shed some light on that, how can I get rid of this belief in scarcity and lack, and just open to receive abundantly? Because sometimes I think that divine providence is just going to be a little, I don't know why, but I want to open to the idea that it can be a lot, you know. And also my my prayer is that I want to see things as they are. I was thinking that that's what I would like to bring. I didn't have time to send an email with my prayer, but my prayer is to please help me see things as they are, really. And I see also there's this clinging to wanting others to approve of me or love me or give me love and approval, and oh yes, Elisa, and the recognition or attention. And I don't know, it doesn't feel good. So I was sharing with a mighty companion, Deborah, that, you know, she also has this. We wanted to also, that's our prayer, that we want to be free, break free from that. It's like some kind of need that you care so much about what others may think about you, and or if they judge you, or that you want them to approve of you, or show or love you or appreciate you or whatever. So it feels very intimate, even positive, because we have been conditioned with, you know, all kinds of the ways to think. And I don't know, what can you say about that? Because it doesn't feel good. And thank you. I mean, I could listen to you for hours, and everyone for hours. Oh, and just one more little thing. You mentioned something about transpersonal psychology. And I was sharing with a friend, with a companion, of what I wanted to do with my life. And it looks like what I want to do is help others to be happy and listen to them. I really want to listen to others without judging them, and just in a very loving space where they can just be themselves, and there is no judgment from me. That can be healing. But I was thinking, should I study or learn something? And I feel drawn to transpersonal psychology, and maybe it does not get in conflict with A Course in Miracles. So yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I feel that calling to do something greater, you want to say. But yeah, thank you. Love you.
Thank you, Lisa. Yeah. Yeah, we always talk about trust, and trust opens the way to guidance. And there's a line from the Course where Jesus says, trust would settle every problem now. So it shows how powerful trust is. And I think it's more of a shift from past learning, like trusting in people and money and education and so many things, that the trust has been so invested in that way that now this present trust that Marcos was, talking about, the present trust and the present goal, is a big shift. And that's why Jesus says it actually takes 6 stages to develop it. So when Jesus puts in his manual for teachers 6 stages of the development of trust, then he's giving us a clear direction, for our lives. And that answers pretty much every question that you raise about the feeling of abundance. It takes us into that. It's not something that initially that Francis or I felt at the beginning. It had to be developed through miracles, through lots and lots of wonderful heart-opening and mind-expanding experiences. And then it gets stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. And yeah, it's beautiful. You like the transparency of Aman, where he could talk about some of the same thoughts and same issues you've talked about, and you can see him just laying all his cards out on the table, and you've wanted answers to some of those. But it's not like Jesus looks at our fragmented self-concept and says, oh, in 2021, I'll help you with this one, this one, this one, this one. It's more like he says, you want to be a giver? Then you trust me and to teach you how to be a giver, and then the rest, you have to let the pieces of the puzzle fall into place. So all the jigsaw pieces just kind of land, and you go, wow, how did that happen? But it was the trust, and it was having that goal set out front. So thank you. You're helping us bring it all together here. We're tying it all together, And thank you for listening too. I know you say you can listen for hours and hours, and actually many people on here do. Whether it's live or Memorex, whether it's live or taped or videotaped, that helps get it clear. I don't know, we've got a Tabula Rasa Mystery School and Living Miracles Monastery standing by. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Yeah, we could go to John there at our Tabula Rasa Mystery School. Unmute.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello, David. Hello, Francis.
Hi,
hello,
John.
everybody. Yeah, I just wanted to share. I feel joyful today. I feel so happy to be here with everybody. I made a decision a few weeks ago. However I feel, and yes, I can share that. But being with my brothers and sisters, being with everybody here, I just want to stay open, to look at the beautiful faces, to receive the smiles, to smile back even when I don't feel like it. But it's better when I do, and just to receive everything that's here, that's been offered, that's been given. And coming to the meditation this morning and hearing Ken expound the review verses, it's so beautiful. Just what a precious way to begin the day. And just to open up, to let my heart open and be open to everybody. I sat yesterday evening for about an hour before I went to bed, which I haven't done in a long time, just to meditate. I just, for me, I just, Jesus' name, I just breathed it in, and I slept so soundly. But I suppose the heart of what I wanted to share was I've been receiving poetry. It's wonderful that this lady talked about poetry. It just touches my heart. I've been receiving poetry for several years, and the Holy Spirit speaks to me almost every day through poetry, reminding me, and it's focused on the course. It's the truth coming. And I'd always held back on sharing that, being open to that. First conversation with the lady who spoke about, being a minister, that so inspired me to just to be open and to share. I have no idea what I want to do in life, but I know I want to allow Jesus to show me, just to feel the joy and the peace. And when I was at a Christian ministry several years back, we had outside speakers, and a speaker came one day. It's on prophecy, could be on worship, and during the meeting, he turned around to me and just pointed at me and said, a mystical poet from Ireland, just voicing the Celtic mystical traditions of old. And my heart, I've been writing poetry for about 6-7 months. My heart just lit up, and it's like I was stunned, but it's wow. And that's continued daily, and I've just closed off and the fear of sharing. That so inspired me. I joined the tribe a few weeks back, and I never put a title up there. And this morning, sitting here, this story came back to me, mystical poets. So I thought, I wonder, could I put mystical poet? Yeah. And then sitting there thinking, and Jesus says to me, what about God's mystical poet? Anyway, so I'll take that question this evening. I had a beautiful conversation with my sister from Germany here this morning. I'm having coffee. I'm mindful of time, so I don't want to. And I've lived and studied in Germany many years ago. So we shared a bit in German, which is beautiful. And as I'm walking back to my room, a verse comes to me, as it usually does. It just comes spontaneously in German. And the verse was, I'm shaking, not for fear, but for just opening. But the verse was, Gottes Licht, Christus Licht, nur ein Licht, Gottes reines Licht, which means God's light, Christ's light, only one light, God's pure light. And my heart is joyed in that, and I shared it. It's like, thank you. So again, just thank you. I'm deeply grateful for this opportunity to be here, to be with everybody. And, thank you all.
Beautiful.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful to see your heart open.
Yeah,
John. Beautiful,
yeah.
really beautiful.
Your smile and the idea of a mystic poet. The Celtics. I was talking about India with the great traditions, but the Celtics all the way up through Enya and her sister Mare Brennan, and there's just so many.
So mystical.
It's kind of it rings deep in my heart. All the Irish mystic poets that have touched me over the years. So maybe it does come back to something. Maybe you've just stumbled upon something that is going to be a beautiful calling for you, and we would all be blessed in that. Yes. So thank you, John. Love you.
Thanks, John. Well, we have Debbie at the monastery last, so we can you can unmute yourself there, Debbie.
Yeah, I want to express my gratitude, especially to Spirit, because yeah, that he's helping me to speak up, to join, and I noticed that I was rehearsing. Like, it's always been one of my biggest fears to speak in public, and I was rehearsing what I could say. There's so many miracles and things I would like to share. But then I remembered, no, my true prayer is that Spirit use my words and you express whatever I want to share. So, yeah, because that's also my prayer. Yeah, to for the ego mind to fall apart and to be totally taken over by Christ and to speak His words and yeah. Yeah, I still feel fear, but I also feel very grateful for, yeah, also for recognizing that there used to be lots of symbols in my life of attack, of people that would express their hate for me, like I don't want to be with you in the same space, a colleague said, or I don't want to sit next to you, and abuse, and well, a story like that. And now there's all these symbols of helping me, like people supported me by donations to come to the monastery, and yeah, also what touches me very deeply that my mother, she's like in her 80s and having all body symptoms, but she said, no, don't come back if I die, you stay there. And my sister said, yeah, I can arrange it with a friend, and you go for it. There's so many support. Also, I was at QDS before I came to the monastery. So much support. Big hug for you. And yeah, also here. Yeah, so yeah, I feel very grateful that yeah, that I finally, but that I'm recognizing everything is for us and not against us. And yeah, be able to understand that function is not about form, but about giving to the one mind that we are. And yeah, so yeah, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Debbie. It's very fitting that you are the last one to help us wrap our beautiful weekend retreat up, because I remember, was it Ines who said that it was Debbie expressing I'm in fear that opened up everything for me. So you didn't even know it, but your transparency was the key to someone really beginning to relax and open their heart. And that was her first time on camera too, to come in front of all of us. So through your inspiration of what you shared. So it's beautiful how it just, the gift keeps on giving and extending and extending. And yeah, thank you for keeping up with the movement and the momentum of that, and just appreciating all the mighty companions and the witnesses around you that are cheering you on at every step of the way, and even your mother saying, don't come back for me. You know, those are strong symbols, very strong. So thank you for sharing your soul with us all. Yeah. Well, how beautiful. That was a perfect ending, wrap-up for everything we've talked about. The courage to come forth and share, and yeah, Wesley and Angie are getting geared up there for what's next, and yeah, and Jan, we've got everybody here, Nanny and David, everybody's clicking together in a synergy to go for this healing together. We're all holding hands, we're all stepping to the light side by side, and we, like Truman, we can't be stopped. There's no way we can't be stopped from going through that healing door. So thank you all for participating in this. This was our first Tabula Rasa online retreat, so I feel like we're at the front of the boat and we've taken the champagne bottle and we've christened a new launch of Tabula Rasa online retreats. And we're loving it, you know, so we're just glad you're right there with us all the way. And we love you so dearly. So have a beautiful, blessed day and keep shining your light, and we're with you. We'll be all with you on this walk.